Okay, welcome. Now we're going to talk about cylinders and spheres. So first we'll talk about cylinders. So definition of a cylinder. A cylinder is a solid that has circular bases. Okay? That's all I have to do. A cylinder is a solid that has two, again, keyword identical, has two identical circular bases. Okay? Now, before I get into that, so a couple of things about a cylinder. The cylinder, the altitude or the height of a cylinder, the altitude is the perpendicular line that connects both bases. It's a perpendicular line that connects both bases. That's the altitude, or what we call the height. Okay? Now, if it's a right cylinder, then that means the sides form right or are perpendicular to the bases. The edge of the cylinder is perpendicular to the bases, and the center of the bases are right on top of each other. Okay, which means you could draw a perpendicular line from the center of the top base to the center of the bottom base. Okay, so that is a right cylinder. Now, if it's a right cylinder, then the altitude and the height are the same thing. Or, well, the height and the cylinder, never mind, scratch that. Height and altitude are always the same thing. The height and the slant height are the same thing. But if you don't have a right cylinder, you might have a cylinder that's kind of cockeyed, right? That's kind of leaning over, okay? But the bases are still parallel. Okay, that would be a cylinder, but it's not a right cylinder. We're only going to be dealing with right cylinders in these videos. Okay, so here are the formulas that you're going to want to know for the different attributes or characteristics, if you will, that we're going to want to calculate. So one is going to be the lateral surface area. Now, the lateral surface area, just realize that one of the ways to think about the lateral surface area of a cylinder is to kind of think about it like it's a Coke can or some soda can where you cut off the top and you cut off the bottom and all you have is the shell. Well, if you cut the can up, you unroll it, right? If you unroll it, cut it down the side and unroll the can after you cut off the top and the bottom, you end up with a rectangle, right? Where this is the height of the can, so that's that side, and then as you unwind the rest, as you unroll it, this side is the circumference, okay? And so that's how we get circumference times the height as the lateral surface area. And again, you could write it this way or this way. Remember, circumference is just 2 pi r or pi d. Okay? Either way. So again, just remember the formulas. Okay? Or just remember circumference times height and just remember the formula for circumference. Okay? Volume. Volume is the area of the base times the height. So it's basically, again, just like the discs. Remember, if you take the cross-sectional discs and you take one little thin disc and you keep stacking these little areas on top of each other, well, then you end up with volume. Okay? So volume is just area of the base times the height of the cylinder. Okay? And again, you can represent it, again, if you just remember the area of a circle, the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. And then just multiply by h. Now, this is the most common one, okay? You could also write it this way, but again, this is the most common formula because if you're given the diameter, you could just take half the diameter, right? Remember, radius is just half the diameter. So we usually just stick with this one, okay? This is a much more familiar formula for most people. And again, just be aware. And then total surface area, again, is just the lateral surface area, right? So if I erase this, just lateral surface area. The lateral surface area is this. Okay? So again, so we get this formula, and then again, this is a much more common formula to just think about it, right? Because if you just remember that total surface area is the lateral surface area plus the two bases, the area of the two bases. So you get, since the bases are the same, you get twice the area of the base, okay? And it just goes into this formula here, okay? So again, as long as you memorize some of the basic formulas, you can always build the formula. If you just remember total surface area is lateral surface area plus the area of the bases, okay? Okay, that's it. So next we're going to do some examples and we'll move forward. Take care.